hello, and welcome to Hello Chaos, the weekly podcast exploring the messy and chaotic lives and minds of entrepreneurs, founders, and innovators. Today, we have John Barnes, President and CEO of Pendleton Street Business Advisors, with us today. John, thank you for coming on to our podcast and this episode, chatting with me about your founder and entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah. Well, thanks for inviting me. Glad to be here.
Well, I'm excited to hear all because I've followed your information and love what you guys do. So just start us out. How in the world did you get into entrepreneurship and with Pendleton Street Advisors?
Yeah. It was kind of like a lot of things. It was sort of a roundabout way. It was certainly not a straight line. I was in banking. Graduated university, went into banking for about 9 years, and I did like it. I learned how to work. I had great managers. I was probably grossly overpaid relative to my experience and contribution. But I knew that one day I just didn't want to do that for 30 years. That was almost scary to me, was to just continue doing that. But I also was not sure of what I really wanted to do. I knew if I wanted to make a career change, I needed to probably get some more skills, be willing to make a lot less money. In other words, I don't want to, a lot of people can't make changes because they can't afford to.
Right.
So all that took a lot of preparation. All that led to, in 2007, I left the bank and went to work for the predecessor firm to ours that does the same amount of work, where we are basically financial advisors to business owners. Where the business is their largest investment, and we help them understand it, grow it, get more out of it, just like you would other types of investments with other types of advisors.
That's fascinating. So, was it a hard transition to go from kind of banking and working in that very structured environment to then kind of running your own company?
So some things were hard and some things were really easy. I mean, one thing that was hard was taking a 60% pay cut. That's hard.
Yeah.
I was married, still married, thankfully.
Like, did she allow that?
Yeah. Had 2 little children then, and then another one came along during that process. And so, it was hard to see where you were at a point in your career where your peers were really starting to advance because they weren't newbies anymore. They were about 10 years in.
Right.
And it felt like we took, 87 steps backwards in terms of income and stress and things like that. As people were beginning to get more comfortable, we became very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, they always say get comfortable with being uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
So is there anything that you look back to go, whoa, what? Should I have not done that? Have you ever had those moments?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, and that's not to say that everything was perfect.
Right.
Dwelling on regret is a complete waste of time.
It is.
We all make mistakes. We all wish there were do-overs. But you posing that question to me, I mean, nothing really leaps out to say like, oh man, like I really would have changed that, because really all those things are what conspire in everybody's entrepreneurial journey.
That's right.
If you take one part out and sub in a better outcome, I can't imagine getting to the present.
That's
from
right.
that. It literally would change everything.
And it's just when we had a conversation, talked to another business owner yesterday, and we were talking about the same thing of, do I'd look back and go, man, I could have done that better, or man, I flubbed that. But don't look at those as failures or mistakes. They're just lessons. But it really has, at least for me and my founder journey and kind of running a business, you take a deep dive on self-reflection and self-discovery of like, I know myself more, and also be able to know people better and have a better relationship and connection with people. But I don't think I would have been able to do that level of work, like, I guess, humanity work or brain sweat work, I guess, of people, if I didn't experience what I've experienced.
Yeah. I mean, I feel very similarly about that. The meander and the twists and turns are all part of it.
Yeah.
I think we're led to believe that success is very linear and very, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's no do-overs or loop-de-loops or anything like
Right.
that. And
That doesn't exist.
it's a lot.
That's,
It really is a lot.
we always talk about
Um,
like the big myths of
yeah.
running a business or entrepreneurship. And I think that's a big one of, you think it's just going to be tick, 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 and it's not.
Yeah.
It is all over the
Well, and
place.
people will tell you their stories. I mean, we're kind of doing it here. People
Yeah.
will tell you their stories in 10 minutes. And that 10-minute story is a 15-year
Right.
journey.
Yeah.
But when you get it in a 10-minute bite, you can certainly believe that, it just seemed like it was just like 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think, people, because they aren't going to give you sort of their whole life story and
Right.
take you all the way through it, that's kind of tough. But, yeah, I mean, nothing really sticks out that I would really have wanted to change. I mean, I guess if I could have started out making more money, okay, maybe
Yeah.
I would have changed that. But honestly, going to work for someone else in an entrepreneurial setting, because that's what I started out. I worked for someone
Yeah.
in a predecessor firm, and being willing to take that pay cut and also drag my family along with that. There was a lot of good things that came out of it, even though it was very uncomfortable and sort of counterintuitive.
Right.
But for taking that step, we would not have encountered those things.
That's right. So what do you think you have discovered most about yourself in that journey?
That you, most, that I think that people are pretty durable. You're made, or I believe that people are made to do about 20x more than they're doing at the current moment.
Whoa. That's a power statement.
But most people are afraid.
Yep.
There's an epidemic of fear in our culture. It's a disease. It's a sickness. It's contagious. That people are afraid. And I think a lot of what they're afraid of when we're talking about entrepreneurial journeys is they're just afraid of discomfort.
Yeah.
In other words, hey, I like to go to Starbucks every day. And so I may not be able to do that because I have to save money to do X, Y, and Z. And I don't want to give that up. I deserve,
Right.
this lifestyle or things like that. And I think that's keeping so many people from doing a lot of things that they were probably made to do, but they're being held back by lies and fear.
Yeah.
That are actually the lies are very believable. That's what makes it so insidious.
What do you think is the biggest lie? Like that people either tell themselves or what they have heard that has stopped them?
I think the lie is that unless you're making, $10 million a year, you're unsuccessful.
Yeah.
Or unless you sell your company after 2 years for $500 million,
Right.
like you kind of blew it.
Yeah.
Or unless you don't have a private jet in the background of your LinkedIn photo to support your post.
Yeah.
That you're not, crushing it or whatever
Right.
that means.
Right.
A lot of it's just kind of materialism and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, I like my stuff. I'm not
Oh, no. Yeah.
a monk or a hermit, but
you're right. That is a, I didn't even think about those kind of lies. And I'm like, Chandler, our producer, is kind of laughing at me because I was on a podcast with talking about marketing and branding and stuff, but it was, it was with a bunch of other founders I was like, I don't live that life. It was, I call it baller energy, right? He had somebody who was like, oh, on their picture, it was like coming out of, and sitting in a jet with their, on their, with their eye candy and their, with their arm candy. And it was like, they were in a yacht with their arm candy and they were coming out of a limo. And I'm like, okay, what can I do? Come out my little, EV electric car.
Yeah.
I was like,
hey
no,
guys,
I'm washing toilet.
again at the Lakers game, like, gosh, this is getting so boring. All these courtside.
And I was like, oh, my founder journey, like I'm over here cleaning toilets. So we thought about making like a parody video of like, no, this is the reality of as you're scaling your business, it is not the norm to be the jet, the yacht, and don't be afraid of that. Like there's a lot of positive
That doesn't
things.
mean it doesn't mean you're a loser.
Right.
And
Right.
I think, like, again, kind of with, is it social media? Is it this? But I think it's that we are aware. We are more aware. We have way more
Oh,
information at
yeah.
our fingertips than even a decade ago, much less before the internet really kicked in and mobile and all that stuff. But we're just aware of what more people are doing.
Mm,
And so FOMO and things like that, we're like,
yeah.
well, gosh, I'm not doing that. Should I be doing that? I mean, they're
Right.
doing that, but it looks fun. I mean, I'm not doing just kind of get in these loops, and it's just like, it's just garbage.
Right. Or one of the reasons we started Orange Whip was because all you heard and you really see out there in news and really out in the media space, true or not, it's like you only see the highlight of like that 1% of those big success stories, and you didn't see the broad spectrum of what made up as founders and entrepreneurs and I would say business owners out there of they're not, the norm is not the exit in 3 years or the you're going to make, you're going to go from startup to 10 million in, 60 seconds. It's just, sometimes entrepreneurship and startup journey, that your startup journey might be 5 years, 10 years while you're figuring out product market fit, while you're figuring out your go to market strategy, you're figuring out how do you scale your business and the operations, and you might not get there in a year. And I think
Right.
it's like you said, it's those kind of lies also that people go, oh, the norm is I'm not failing because there's other people that are in it doing it just like me, that are in the grind, that are in that, I'm gonna say the hustle, but it's more of like that persistence of
Well, I
just,
think you're even just in the ordinary,
yeah,
it's just regular stuff.
yeah,
You're taking care of customers or clients, you're paying your bills, you're meeting payroll, you're having a Christmas party for your team, you're congratulating, like, that's just the regular stuff. That does
right,
not make a highlight reel, but I think you and I understand, like, that's actually more running a business than,
right.
the highlight reel. And certainly the highs and the lows come and go, but there's a lot of space in between the high and the low,
Yeah,
which is where most things happen. But we only focus on the extremes because we just give it more airtime.
yeah, yeah. No, that's a good point. So as when you entered this space, you worked for somebody, an entrepreneur, and then you ended up taking over. What was
Mhm.
the most challenging part about that?
Well, we ended up taking over, my co-founder and I, because the owner of that business died.
Oh, well, that's
And
an oh shit moment right there.
it certainly was.
Oh my God.
And it was accidental.
Oh my
He
goodness.
was in a rock climbing accident, and um, here one day, gone the next.
Wow.
And there was also no plan, no
No
buy sell,
succession, no, not like,
no nothing.
uh,
And so we literally were having to pick up the pieces of broken glass from all that, plus our own grief. I mean, we were all very close. As you can imagine, it
yeah.
was a small team environment. You know each other really well. I was the third employee of that firm. And at that time, I think we had 8 or 9 people.
Whoa.
And so a lot of growth had happened during the time that I had been there. And then he was gone. So the sole
Wow.
owner. So we had to pick up those pieces, both on the client side as well as on the legal side. There was all kinds of unnecessary trouble and ugliness
Yeah.
because of a lack of planning, you know.
Wait, and when you talk
And
about like, was there challenges in terms of, I mean, not just dealing with obviously grief, and then how do you react? Like, is it, did it, how did you guys choose on like, okay, who's doing what? Like now who picks up this ball? Who, like, what are the roles? Like the succession plan of, okay, you're going to
yeah,
take over this. Was there infighting between the team of with egos and like any of that, or did you guys all gel together?
well, there certainly was initially, I think, a bonding of like, hey, we got to pull together, and everybody's got to do their job
Yeah,
to keep this thing going. And there was lots of almost reflexive agreement on that. So that was good.
that was good. Yeah.
I think over time, what happened is because of the level of uncertainty of, okay, well, who really is going to own this? Of course, because he died without a plan, he was married. His wife sort of inherited, if you will, those assets.
Uh,
She was put into a position she never asked to be in.
right.
And it was sort of unfair to her. She was trying to also pick up lots of other pieces. They had children. They had all kinds of things going on.
Oh,
As
can't even
most people
imagine. Oh,
do. And a whole lot of things happened that just led to a lot of really poor decisions being made by someone who really should not have been making those decisions.
right.
But because of all the legalities and all those things, it was hard to point those things out. So I ended up quitting. I resigned from the business after about 18 months of no man's land.
Right.
And that led to a whole host of legal problems and lawsuits and things like that, the employees became defendants in a lawsuit.
Oh,
We settled it, and the settlement was my co-founder and I bought the assets out of the
yeah.
old company and started Pendleton Street.
Gotcha. That is an incredible story. I mean, that, like,
And like we said earlier, like I told you that in maybe, I don't know, 2 minutes.
yeah.
And that was an 18-month period of my life that sucked.
Right. Like I'm sitting there going, I can totally feel the 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 mud pit you were probably in.
Yeah. It was also very expensive. I mean,
Oh,
financially.
yeah.
It was extremely expensive relative to how easily it could have been prevented.
Yeah.
But again, I think that's part of life. I mean, you pay a lot of tuition, if you will.
That's
In other
right.
words,
We've had a lot of
literally,
financial lessons.
yes, I mean, you pay money, and we call it tuition.
Yeah.
To learn lessons that you will never, ever, ever repeat
Right.
because of literally how expensive it was. And sometimes as adults, I mean, that's adult learning model.
Right.
You learn when you have to,
Yeah.
And so when we started Pendleton Street,
I was like, so what was the first thing you did? Did you guys say, okay, we're not going, like, we're going to make some clear
so we
plans?
signed an operating agreement that laid out how we were going to be structured and organized. And then we immediately signed buy-sell agreements and all that stuff, funded the life insurance so that if that low likelihood but highly catastrophic thing happened,
Yeah.
at least our families and the team would be taken care of, and there would not be nearly the level of uncertainty and anxiety and just lack of direction if something happened to either of us.
And, just as also a lesson learned of, I mean, you guys had to go through that through a massive tragedy and like the lowest of low.
Sure.
But, I don't know. I had somebody give me that advice as I was looking for, I had a team partner, and how do you structure that? How do we start sharing in the business? Let's make this more legal. But it was interesting even to go through those questions of, okay, how do we form our partnership? How do we form this? We need to think through what are our roles? How are we going to pay? Like, how do we exit and make? And it was interesting of going through that with somebody that we were clearly, not on the same page, and that forced that like we have different visions for how to run a company, and how to make it a scalable company, and that led to someone on our team that was just like, you know what, I just like the gig. I don't want to be an owner. I don't want to be a manager, but it forced kind of that self-discovery forced me to kind of go, okay, you're not the type of person that I want to get into business with. And then it also forced that person to go, I kind of now know what I just want to just give me I don't want to build a team. My LLC is really just more of a sole proprietor, like.
Well, and that's the right time to find that out. I mean, I think a lot of business owners or entrepreneurs, they react to things more than they decide things.
Right.
and sometimes we have to react. I mean, something just comes across your desk or a big change that
Right.
you didn't know about, you couldn't anticipate. And so you have to react. But that's how so many things I think are left in business world is, well, let's just air quote,
Well,
cross that bridge when we
right.
get,
No, do
it's like,
not. I mean,
no,
like I
you,
had to force those
yeah,
conversations in because it
yep,
was okay, we're never going to scale. Here we're 3 years in. We kind of have this um more of a unwritten, you know, basically a verbal or even just like a not even a handshake deal. It was like, no, I don't feel secure. And we just went through within our first like couple years of it, we had a no pay client and we had to go and pursue that. And because we didn't have our processes and systems buttoned up, it was it was tuition that we learned
yep,
of we got to get our contracts in place.
yep,
I need to have more structure on this business, but it forced those conversations, um, not near like through what you guys did, but it was more of it was from a legal battle that we went through with um, a client, but it made me look at everything, um,
yep, yeah.
legal wise
No
to
one,
protect.
yeah, you're never going to hear a great presentation on that. I mean, it's always going to be the cautionary tale.
Right.
It is the most unglamorous side of business that there is.
That's right.
A lot of it's morbid. It's just stuff that you don't, it can maybe bring up conflict, if you will.
Right.
And so a lot of times it's just avoided. But what I've seen, what I've lived through and what I've seen in my professional work is that's actually where the good stuff is. And
That's
that
right.
is where you create that infrastructure
Y-
in your business that you can't scale without it.
no.
You can be fooled or believe a lie
Right.
that you can pick up that stuff along the way or cross that bridge when you
It
get there.
doesn't.
That's a lie.
It is a
That's
lie.
a lie.
It is a complete lie. And the things that we learn, especially like I learned about, okay, just because people say things until you force those conversations to go, we got to put this on paper. You
Mm-hmm.
really learn of, nope, that's not, their actions speak differently.
Right.
Um, but it will protect you and your business, and actually help, like you said, it scales you. And yes, it's a place of discomfort. Um, but that's what my kind of mantra is. I got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable because I enter uncomfortability a lot. In
Yeah.
this, like, as you're innovating, you're growing, you're scaling, you're entering a different stage, you're going to be having uncomfortable conversations and environments all the time, and just be
Mm-hmm.
ready for it. Um, well, I hate that happened to your the partner, your predecessor. That's terrible, but I'm glad it all seemed to work out
It did.
positively.
I mean,
Yeah.
there were so many things that helped us that we couldn't have imagined, but for needing the help and things like that. It certainly was not, just kind of keep a stiff upper lip and push through. I mean, that certainly is required, but
Yeah,
that's all that you need to go through things like that.
that's
And
right.
it really made me have a much deeper sense of gratitude
Mm.
for those kind of things in people.
Yeah.
Um, People were really amazing to us and our team, not just our clients. Our clients were, but outside help, things like
Yeah.
that. Also learned how to ask for help.
Uh,
That's a skill.
that is a skill. It's
It's
hard.
it's very difficult for people to do. At least for me,
Yeah.
it was difficult. But again, so many great things kind of came out of that I wouldn't have drawn it up that way. I wouldn't have
Right.
asked for it, if you will, but that's how it went down.
So you've had this like that's big challenge. Like you talked about the highs and the lows. Obviously, that journey was a low. What's been the most rewarding? What's been the high point?
I mean, honestly, I'm grateful that there are many of those that come to mind. I mean, there's been
Uh,
high points with client successes in terms of our process of helping business owners get more out of and from their largest investment. There have been families that have been changed because of our work for that. But also I think about team members who grew and changed and had to overcome sometimes some big stuff outside of the office, sometimes some challenges inside the office with gaining skills, gaining confidence and things like that. It's been really rewarding to just see people get better, see people get rewarded financially for that. Also to be able to look back on things that I went through and not only just to kind of pat myself on the back, but to also wonder, well, what's this getting me ready for?
Yeah, because it's paving a path, right?
Because that was really hard.
Yeah.
So what is coming around the corner? Again, not from I'm not worried about it, but I do. This could be a hot take for you. Like I don't believe in luck.
Yeah.
I don't believe in chance or real randomness that lead to these amazing things.
Right.
I think that there's purpose in everything, even if I don't understand what it is or don't like it or things like that. But it does make me think about
same
what's
page.
coming next.
Yeah. I don't believe in coincidences at all. I think I'm the same way of like everything is done
I hate
on
it when people.
It's a designed life, right?
I hate it when people attribute great things to, oh, I'm just lucky.
Yeah, no.
I cringe at that.
I'm saying
it's like, no.
Yeah, no. Everything happens for a reason, and you're right to be because I've hit some really low points, and I'm like, okay, I'm starting to see why I had to go through something.
Yep.
And now I'm starting to see some of that to go, okay, I wouldn't have been prepared.
Right.
For that. So I'm with you. That's not a hot take. I think that's a wonderful take. All right, so I'm going to ask you my big question. If you had to sum up your journey in one word, what would that word be?
So one word, I think it would be courage.
Oh.
Because I've had to do a lot of things scared.
Oh. Yeah.
And I don't enjoy being afraid. I don't like letting people know that I'm afraid. Being vulnerable is just not, I don't love that.
Yeah.
I don't love it when other people are, not because I don't enjoy the display of emotion, but I want them to be encouraged. I want courage to be in them, but yeah, a lot of this stuff. I mean, when Bill died, scared. When I got served with a lawsuit, scared.
Yeah.
When certain clients came and went, scared.
Yeah.
When tough conversations with teammates, scared. Tough conversations at home because of lack of balance, scared. When my partner exited the business at the end of last year, scared.
Whoa.
Still scared on some, honestly. But you have to do it anyway. Like that's right. Courage. Courage is not where, oh, nothing bothers me, nothing, that is not courage. That is delusion.
Right.
Courage is just doing it scared.
Oh my gosh. And like we've asked 1,000 or so a founder, and I get a different answer every time. That's why I like to ask it.
Yeah, that's a good question.
But we haven't heard this word, and just the way that you expressed it is, oh my God, that's an aha. Because we talk about we need to be more fearless as leaders and as business owners. But you're right, there's a lot of things that we do scared, but we still have to just continue to do it.
Yeah. I don't think it means you act foolishly or you don't do your diligence, that you don't try to alleviate some of that fear, but to expect it to all go away is unreasonable.
It's not, and that's not, and like you said, that's a myth, that's a lie, that
is a lie.
It's not going to happen. I mean, like you might be in that middle zone, but you're going to either, for a lot of us, it's like you will have those extreme highs, and then you also have the extreme lows. And even, I don't know, I'm a introvert by nature. So even just doing this was one of my ways of like, I got to overcome,
Yeah.
just getting out there. Or when I go and sign up for a networking event, those are little mini moments of courageousness that I've got to go,
Yeah.
because it's not comfortable for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, or having very uncomfortable conversations with clients or teammates. It is, we do live in that space a lot. And
Sure.
yeah, what a great word. I love it, John. We've talked about the lies so as you've talked, now you've owned, you're owning this business. What's been your biggest, like, the aha moment of that was, some kind of significant thing that you've learned that really made an impact in how you do business, or how you run your business? Has there any been kind of like a aha reflection?
It's interesting. So all of our clients are business owners. And
Right.
so you get a backstage pass into dozens, maybe at this point, hundreds of businesses. Some that are doing great, a lot of them that are in the middle, and some that really, really need some help, and they're in a tight spot. I think what I've learned is that, so this is a lot, that there are 10,000 right ways to do things. Nope. There's maybe 10,
Right.
but there's not 10,000.
Right.
There are certain things, especially when we're talking about principles, that are kind of evergreen, that when you begin to violate them, your business will fail.
Yep.
And I think that one of the ahas was not necessarily that, oh, any old way will do. You have to do it the way that you're comfortable with.
Oh.
Sometimes that coincides with the right thing. Most of the time it does not, because you can't possibly know it all.
Right.
Comfort. Again, I sleep on a bed. I use hot water. It's not that you have to always be
Right.
uncomfortable, but for that to be a constant, for comfort to be a constant in your business life is unreasonable.
That's
and
right.
unrealistic. And so I think that aha was that, hey, there's not really a bunch of ways to do things well. There's maybe 10. And you can tell yourself or get all the, attaboys or all the, kind of keyboard courage from people that
Right.
you're doing the right thing, but it's not.
Right. I mean, there's just some fundamentals of starting and running a successful business.
Yeah.
There's some foundational elements that if you don't
Right.
do these things, systems and processes, or understanding business math and the language
Yeah.
of accounting, and I call it the language of business. You're never going to scale.
Right.
And grow.
And it's kind of funny you say it that way. We tell our clients, like, listen, you don't need to be an A student and all that, but you need to have a 3.0.
Right.
You might need to hire people to be on your team that are 4.0 students in HR,
Right.
in finance, in, operations. That's what you hire for, the A student. But you as the owner, you've got to be a B student in all those things.
That's right.
And there's some things that to get that B, you got to work really hard. Some things the B is going to come natural and in fact be an A plus. Usually that's around marketing, that's around product development. That's where a lot of entrepreneurs, that's their happy place.
Right.
So they want to be good at it. But even us as business advisors, we'd say, look, there are things that we can do and we can help you with it. And you can kind of outsource, if you will. But the buck stops with you, sir or madam.
Right.
And you have got to be a 3.0 student in this stuff.
Right.
Somehow, some way.
Right. I mean, I think that's a great way of referencing that and talking about that. I don't know if we've heard that before. So that's a good little soundbite that we'll have to push out, because
Yep.
I mean, I have Orange Whip, but I also run a marketing firm. I've been in marketing for 30 years working with businesses of all shapes and sizes. And I think, especially in the startup scale up world, I'm amazed at the lack of fundamental understanding from CEOs or just the business leaders of companies that are, that have 2,000 employees, 8,000 employees, or even like 25 to 200 employees. Just the basic fundamentals of business operations. Like they know, whatever they were, if they came in from sales, they get sales, but they don't know how sales links to everything else. Or if they were a software engineer, they get software engineering, but they don't really understand the fundamentals of, and I'm like, how? Like you've been in this for 5+ years or 10 years. And you're well funded and you're a significant, you are making money. But you're struggling. Like we come in and we're like, you got a lot of friction. We call it so we come in, we're like, where's the rub? And I'm sure this is probably what you do too, of where's the friction in your business? How do you come in? And sometimes it's, it's branding, sometimes it's marketing, operations and processes or people or whatever. And a lot of times it's the last thing is it might be advertising or it might be people are choosing where to spend time, money, and energy. It's in the wrong place.
Yeah. Well, I think people know what they know.
Yeah.
And so they kind of stick to their strengths, which is understandable. But, I kind of talk to our clients, I have sort of a love-hate relationship with the word entrepreneur. I love it because I understand what that means.
Yeah.
And it is a thing. Hate it because a lot of people that sort of consider themselves to be entrepreneurs are not very competent at the things you're talking about.
Right. And
what I tell people when I'm speaking, and sometimes the clients, is like, hey, listen, business owner, somebody is making their mortgage payment that works for you based on your decision making.
Right. Oh, that's good.
Someone is putting their child and paying for super expensive daycare because of your decision making. This is way bigger than you. Yes, you got to take care of yourself. There's all those kind of things that we're helping you work on. But a mentor of mine, who not a client, but years ago, he asked me this question. He said, John, how many kids are supported by your business? I was like, what? He's like, how many children, or he's like, how many parents of children are working in your business, and how many children are represented by those families?
Oh, that's a good one.
And I was like, he's like, you better find that out.
Yeah.
Well, now I know it's 13. His business was very large. He says, I have 237 kids whose parents work in my company. And I go to bed at night wondering if I made good decisions that are going to help those parents take care of those children. He's like, you better learn that number and never forget it.
Oh my God. That's the best. I think that's the best piece of advice I have ever heard for every business owner, founder, entrepreneur. They need to because I remember when I first started, people would say, what's the most rewarding thing? When I started the company, 10 years ago, I remember saying I help support 27 different families. I feel good about that number.
Yeah.
But I remember internalizing that, but I never even took it to the next level of the children. And internalizing that from the decisions. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Someone will comment, well, not everyone has kids. I understand that.
Yeah.
But the point is that he was saying, listen, your actions affect way more than, quote, the company.
Right.
And that's where I help our clients understand, hey, we need to graduate from just being entrepreneurs that are just going all over the place and doing stuff and doing the fun. You need to be a business owner. You need to own that business.
Yeah.
Which means you become a 3.0 student in a lot of the major categories. It means that you understand that here's another lie, that, it's not personal, it's just business.
Oh,
wrong.
That's right.
It's always personal, at some level.
It feels personal too. I mean, if if you are have the right mindset of being a founder running a business, it should be personal. It
Absolutely.
should feel personal when you
It
make
should be
decisions.
intensely personal.
Yes.
And I think, that's another lie out there to say, you can distance yourself. And so even if it's not knowing the number of kids, how many mortgage payments or how many rent payments are people making that, are under the org chart?
Yeah.
Those are real things. And again, not that you are completely responsible for them, but again, your actions as an entrepreneur, like for instance, if you don't understand that revenue is not cash,
Right.
Like
Right.
that's something that can affect the kids that are supported by the parents who are working in that business, thinking that your stuff when really you're kind of shaky.
Right. Right. Oh my God, that's profound. That's a good statement. John, I'm curious of like what do you wish? Is there something about you that you wish people knew more about you? Like, or that you wish some people would recognize about you more, that maybe you're like, I'm this type of person, but no one sees that. Is there
Well,
something?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like, I do put a lot of myself out there, in my posting on LinkedIn and videos that I shoot and with my team and with our clients. I'm not a person of nuance. So it's kind of pretty
You're like,
straightforward.
what you see is what you get.
Yeah, at least I really hope so. I think I would want people to know that I really, in this firm, is on a mission to impact hundreds of thousands of businesses across the United States. That the work that we get to do when our clients hire us, where we help them understand the personal financial elements of their business decision and vice versa, the business decisions that, or the personal financial decisions that impact their business decisions. I want them to know that that's a thing. I want the business community to know that you don't have to be a business the size of, say, Chick-fil-A with the
Right.
Cathy family. At a moment's notice, they can get the world's best strategic financial advice with a phone call. Goldman Sachs would load up a plane full of their best bankers to go see them. JP Morgan, they would all fight each other at Teterboro Airport, getting on their private planes to go meet them. I want the businesses out there that are between $5 and $50 million to get almost the same caliber of advice and service on the most strategic financial decisions that they're trying to make. That's what I would want people to know, that I am dead serious about doing that.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with the big guys and the big banks. Like, they've got a market and they've got a model, and that's necessary. I'm not trying to compete with them.
Right.
I'm just trying to help people that really probably need the help more.
Yeah.
And to really get it in a way that's comprehensive and approachable and actually helps them.
Well, and also if you give the same advice and counsel, just like what you did, here, of you need to be at least a B+ student in these things. These are the foundational and the fundamentals, or, you need to know, like, your actions affect other people than just yourself or your, direct, like, to really internalize and personalize their role as founder, as owner of a company. And I love, like, it's so funny that you have the love-hate relationship with the word entrepreneurship, because we've heard from, and why we use founder a lot is because we've heard back from people who are like, we're like, come on the podcast, let's hear your entrepreneur, your founder journey. And they're like, I'm not an entrepreneur. And I'm like, well, yeah, you are. You founded this, you did this. And they're like, I built something.
Yeah.
I've made something. I've scaled something.
Yep.
I've owned, like, that's not what I see. Because again, that's what's played out in media. This is what being an entrepreneur is. And, some are like, I'm 50 years old. I'm a Black woman from Oakland, California, and I've done this. And then they're like, I don't fit that description of what an entrepreneur is.
Right.
Right. Like I've created something and I've founded something pretty special and I've grown. I'm really an owner. I'm a founder. And it's just, to hear even you say similar of like, there is that myth of, or I would say, um, whatever, a dichotomy around that word of either people connect with it or they're like, no,
Right.
no, no, that's not me.
Yeah. Yeah. It is sort of polarizing, I think, in that way that, like you're saying, I think people really resonate
Yeah.
or they don't.
Right.
There's not a lot of middle ground there, but I understand why we use the word and sort of founder, business owner, entrepreneur. I interchange them myself, but sometimes with some of our higher growth companies, I'm sitting with that CEO who is the founder, who is the majority owner, and saying like, no, like, you are a business owner.
Right.
You've got a team of 10 and they all live somewhere and they're making rent payments or mortgage payments. Like, this is serious.
Yeah.
And that kind of straightens people up a little bit.
Oh, yeah, that's good. So you talk about, your purpose and the value and what you want for people to recognize about you and the company. If you could change two things right now about your business today, what two things would you change?
I would have a bigger team.
Yeah.
In other words, more people. I want to have a much bigger team. And I want to, I guess it's almost, it goes without saying that, the revenue to really support that.
Right.
But that's coming along. I mean, we keep doing what we're doing. I mean, scaling a professional services firm is sort of hard. You can
It's so
add more
hard.
people to build capacity, but then you have to have the clients backing that up.
That's right.
So it's kind of that. So maybe we'll consider that as one. And the second one would be, the second one. Yeah, I think I would change where I wouldn't want to be as integral, and not to put myself in the center of it, but, it is, I want more people to do more things.
Yeah.
With a small team, everyone's job description is
We
this
all,
bit. When you're in a
we wear a
large
lot of
company, you
hats.
get
Yeah.
these nice, concise job descriptions, and I want to be able to position people to be way more within their strengths than having to stretch as much, if you
Yeah.
will. Our team that we have right now is they're masters of improvising and stretching, which is a skill and it's good.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to have people that can be more specialized also.
All right. Okay. So John, if I come visit you and I take you out for coffee or cocktails to celebrate something, what would we be celebrating a year from now? I come to you where I'm going to take you out to celebrate. What would we be celebrating 1 year from now?
I think we'd be celebrating that we've added to our head count.
Very good. All right. And that means also new clients, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Well, and I think, again, that's one of those decisions that, yes, it ought to mean more clients, but also I think it's about reinvestment in the business. It's an owner. We tell our clients, look, you've got 3 decisions you can make with the money in your business. You can take it home, you can pay down debt, or you can reinvest. So sometimes that reinvestment button means you can't do those other 2. You can't take it home and buy a sailboat or something,
right.
or, if you've got debt, or whatever, if that's a thing. But the reinvestment means that you're doing that. And so that's something that in my own journey is like being more comfortable, having the ability to reinvest more. But we're in that mode now, thankfully. And so I'm looking forward to reinvesting in my thing, because that's what I help my clients do.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I gotta walk the talk, right?
Right.
What's the best piece of advice before we go? Like, what's the one thing that what's your go-to advice that you feel like, and you've given a lot, so I don't even know if there's more that you can add to what you've are, but for business owners and founders out there, what's like the greatest piece of advice you could leave?
I think it kind of goes back to, and this is something I learned from Bill, and our predecessor firm. He taught me this. And it comes from an old story in the Bible, and I won't even go into what the story is, but what the main character in this story tells people, and he's kind of getting mad at this group of people. And he says, do not despise a small beginning. Because what was happening was the crowd was kind of grumbling about this like kind of dinky thing that used to be really great, but it was being rebuilt in a much smaller way. And this wise person was just said like, hey, don't despise the day of small beginnings. And that's what I would tell people is like, listen, everything starts tiny.
Yeah.
We start tiny,
Right.
little babies. And they're cute and they're cuddly and messy and all that stuff. Businesses start the same way. They're tiny. They're insignificant. You think you're just barely a blip on the radar. Well, that's how Chick-fil-A started.
That's right.
I mean, that's how Goldman Sachs started.
That's right.
That's how Google started, Facebook, everything
Apple,
had to
everything, every
really,
big brand started tiny.
really, yeah, everything you've heard of started really small.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, again, part of those lies that seem really true
Right.
is that, well, if it's not big and you're not crushing it or whatever, then it's nothing. It's insignificant.
Right.
And that small beginning can turn into something that in your wildest imagination, you could not have seen it at that time because you had to start small.
That's right. Oh, my goodness. That's great. I love it. I love that. Such good advice. You've been amazing. And I hate that we're out of time. It's like, I love these conversations and I wish we could talk all day. We'll have to figure out another time to
Sounds good.
to continue the conversation. But before we go, where do you want people to find you, connect to you, learn more about Pendleton Street Business Advisors? How
Yeah.
Tell us your stuff.
Yeah, so we're like everybody. We have a website, and it's actually pendletonstreetadvisors.com. Probably the other place to find me is on LinkedIn under my profile for John Barnes. I write there almost every day about business, about what I see from clients, what they're doing, what we're doing. I try to tell halfway decent stories. Sometimes there's videos, sometimes there's not. And that's probably the best way to find me. You can send me a direct message or something through LinkedIn. It's probably the best. Also, if we're connected, my email address is there where if you want to shoot me an email. There's also, we're like everybody to contact us on our website. We're not hiding. So
very good. Well, we'll make sure that we tag you and everything as we publish this episode, which is our podcast episodes are on all podcast platforms. So please give us a like, a comment, a share, a review. Help us build a more connected entrepreneurial community. Thanks everyone for hanging out with us today and listening. Hello Chaos is one of the many resources brought to you by Orange Whip. That is Orange Whip, WIP for work in progress, because that's what we all are. Orange Whip is a multimedia company dedicated to serving founders and entrepreneurs in affiliate cities. We are in 3 cities in South Carolina today, looking to expand to other cities because every city needs an Orange Whip. We're a one-stop content hub just for founders and an innovative digital zine experience. And if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast or support us, send us an email to hello@orangewhip.com. Y'all, thank you for tuning in to Hello Chaos. It is where aha meets oh shit. I'm your host, Jennifer Sutton, JJ, and I'll see you again next week.